Now just think a minute. How many times have you went out searching for something on the internet or on Google, did searches to find some information that you were looking for, and you really weren't quite sure, you know, you had to do a lot of searching, you got a whole bunch of different opinions about things. My name's Steve Sedair. I'm founder of Tabletop Farmer. I'm not some gardening guru. What I am is I'm an expert at building and maintaining soil health. So you hear me talking a lot about mimicking Mother Nature to build nutrient-rich, healthy living soil. What does that mean? You also hear me talk a lot about there being over 130 some species in a snapshot of a native prairie. So what does that mean? How would it be if you could look one place and find a whole host of information, not only about soil health, but about a whole bunch of different things? So I'd like to welcome you to the Soil Health Summit. It's a project that I have had so much fun putting together. It's over 25 speakers all in one place talking about a variety of different businesses and how it all ties back to the soil. So what will the Soil Health Summit consist of? Well, we have two very well-known podcasters. They talk about their podcasting and their gardening that they actually do. We have two association speakers, one from the Organic Association, another one from a Detoxification Association, but talks more about the pesticide things and testing things they've done over the years. We have a raised bed garden expert. She talks about where that has been and where it's going and what's happened there. We have a lady that teaches kids in schools, takes gardening into schools and teaches that within their curriculum, and also teaches others how to do that so that they can pass that on. We have a lady talking about bees and pollinators and how that affects her gardens. She's been in bees for a very, very long time. We have 2 to 3 sessions on homesteading. Some of them go back over 30 years of where they started out, mistakes they made, so that you don't have to by listening to these, and where they're at today. We have a couple different sessions on fermenting and tea brewing and the microbes in that, how it helps our bodies and our digestive systems. We have a couple sessions on seed experts with heritage seeds and how we need to look for seeds that are adaptable to our area and start adapting seed and that seed saving. We have a soils geologist that goes back many, many years with research that he's done and then brings it up to the current day as to what's going on with our soil. Him and his wife had a gardening experience beside their house they bought that actually was a gravel pit that they didn't realize, and turned that into a garden. And Ann also talks about the soil microbes, or the microbes within our body. We have a session on edible gardens instead of lawns that are being placed in front of restaurants. Justin's out in 16 states now with this, and actually looks for people to help him with this project. We have a 36-year-old no-till gardening veteran, and today he's up to 15% organic matter levels. Unbelievable. Started out at 7, different from the traditional gardening practices. With it 36 years, you'd be down to about 1%, if that. And then we have 4 to 5 experts that are with the Soil Health Academy, travel in the U.S. They travel to some foreign countries as well. They have 3-day workshops they put on about soil health and teaching about cover crops, more on the production agriculture side, but they also are gardening experts as well because they had gardens long ago. Some of them are still with gardens, and they're doing market farming with that yet and practicing those principles. So what we'll be doing is releasing 2 to 3 sessions a day with these speakers throughout the launch. So stay tuned. You'll be able to keep up with that easier, releasing them in a timely manner like that so that you can have time to listen to them. So with that, I'm going to head back outside and talk a little bit more about Mother Nature and that native prairie. So if we get to looking at what's out here, the first thing is the standing residue that's left after it's produced seed. It's dropped the seed has fallen to the soil. But more importantly, down below, we have down here this beautiful armor layer. We can see that we also have green grass, that's still green, although we've had sub-zero temperatures in this area 2 or 3 times. We have old dried grass that's breaking down within that profile, that's helping to feed that environment underneath the soil. And there's just a whole host of other things that what we call the armor layer on top of the soil is doing for us. And just to name a few, that armor layer, after the seed drops from the plants that are growing, the living plants during the growing season, those living plants have actually provided an environment for that world that's beneath me right now, even though it's gone into the dormant stage right now because of the temperature. But we still have the standing stubble or the standing residue that's going to trap the snow. It's going to trap residue or trap moisture that's going to protect that environment so that it can have storage for next year. If we were to go out here, and that would be an interesting test to do, but if we were to go out here and put a soil thermometer in the ground, we would find that this ground is probably right now anywhere from 8 to 12 degrees warmer than if we went out into the bare soil. So, number one, we limit those huge swings in temperature. We stabilize that more. That goes for the heat in the summertime as well. The next thing that does is the residue then breaks down, just as I showed you, and creates that armor layer on top of the soil. So next year in the growing season, what that armor layer does is the first thing it does that I like to talk about first is it eliminates erosion. The second thing it does is it preserves moisture. And those were the two things that I was looking for when I started no-till and farming a little over 37 years ago. The next thing it does is it helps to protect those huge temperature swings like I talked about earlier. It creates that armor. Like if you're thinking about a war where they wore them big heavy vests, it was called armor that they wear. Or the protective vests that the police wear today, the bulletproof vests. It's kind of an armor. It's a shield to protect against all the elements that happen above it. And that's the same thing that it does for us below. So there's a lot of things that happen out here in a native environment that we need to take and try to implement in our systems that we do for gardening. And in doing that, we're able to produce a natural environment. We don't have to add anything to it. The native prairie is never tilled. It never tills itself. The earthworms actually do that tilling for us as we leave that alone. And we don't get in there and try and control that natural environment. That whole thing just starts evolving. It starts building and producing, and it'll keep going and it'll keep reproducing in abundance. And it'll feed whatever we put into it. So we could actually come out here in this spot and we could plant a garden, believe it or not. There's some things we'd have to do. We could actually come out here, and this would probably be, and this is a hilltop. This soil is probably one of the poorest soils. This hill used to blow, believe it or not, back in the day when it was tilled. And it's been allowed to go back to the native environment. And it's pretty interesting because we could come out, we could actually plant a garden in this, and this would thrive and do very well. So be sure to click the button on this page. That'll get you registered for all of this exciting information, so you don't want to miss any of this. And besides, it's free. So click the button below for more information on that, and we'll have all the details for you. I look forward to meeting you there, and thanks for watching.